Okay, launch PowerPoint. Open up a blank presentation. Go ahead and clear this out of here. Okay, let's insert a picture. And I'm going to choose the Family Feud pic that I used. Okay, now let's insert a text box. I'm going to insert a text box over here because I want that to flip up. Okay, and then let's put answer 1 in the box here. And then we can change the color of this. Let's change it to white so we can see it a little bit better. Let's make it a little bit bigger. I think 48 would be good. Let's center it up. Okay. Now let's fill the background with a color so it's easier to see. There you go. Okay, so it's blue. Alright, so this is what I want to pop up once I make this piece interactive. Now I'm going to need something to trigger this. So I'm going to insert a shape. Let's do a rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to have a rectangle. So that means if anybody touches in this area here, touches this area here, it's going to trigger that answer to pop up. Okay, let's go ahead and put no fill on this so you can see the answer behind it. Okay, I want you to see that. Now I'm going to come back and do that in a second. Okay, so this is in front. This is the text box. This is the picture. And then if you notice here, the text box is here and here's my picture. And I'm going to move all this around so it's easier to see. Okay, here's my trigger box. Okay, I'm going to leave the exterior around it so we can see it for now. Okay, so here's what I want to do. I want to take this text box and I'm going to go get an animation. This is the important part here that's new. I'm going to click on appear. You could do all kinds of different things. I'm going to use appear. So I want the answer to appear. And then you can see the one here that tells you it's my first animation. Now I'm going to go to animation pane. I like working from the animation pane here. You see this? We have the text box and answer 1. You see when I hover over it, it shows text box 4, answer 1. Click on the drop down menu and then go to effect options. Under effect options, go to timing, and we want it to start on click, but we need a trigger. So go here to start effect on click of. And then notice it gives us a drop down menu. Picture 3. Well, picture 3 is the first thing I put in. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4. Text box 4 is what I built next. And then rectangle 5 is the new piece. So we're going to use rectangle 5 to trigger answer 1. Okay, so let's click OK. Okay, so now let's do the show and let me show you what I'm talking about here. We notice that here's the box that triggers it. It's right above answer 1 for now. Okay, let's click this. Okay, so notice when you have the finger here, it tells you that this is going to trigger. Okay, so this is going to trigger. So when you click here, answer 1 is going to pop up. Okay, now notice when I put no fill here, I want to show this. If I put no fill, do you see how the interior here, the finger doesn't show up there? So let's fix that. Okay, so I'm going to go back out here, and I'm going to go back under when it says shape fill. Instead of using no fill, let's go back to the color. I want to show you how this works. Now notice what happens here if I launch this now. You see how the whole thing works? So I show this with the no fill because you can use no fill. Sometimes it does so you can see behind it. I'm going to recommend you use something else because I wanted to show what happens when you trigger it. Because I've had students in the past that'll put no fill and then they'll say, well, it won't trigger unless it's on the outside, and that's true. So, but notice this shows up the whole way. Okay, so when I click here, answer 1 shows up. Okay, so the way that I'm going to recommend you do this is when you go in here, I'm going to format the shape, go to fill, and you can go under here and do it as well if you want to. You can go. You see where it says transparency? Let's make this transparency 100%. Now notice what happens. It makes it so that you can see through it. See? You see, if I put it over here, you can still see through it. That's what we want. We want to be able to see through it. Now, let's see what happens now if I do this. Okay? If you do this now, notice, see this whole area here? You can see through it and the whole area is active. Answer 1 pops up. Okay, so that's how I'm going to recommend you do it. Do it with transparency rather than no fill for that reason, so I wanted to show that. Okay, let me move this in the middle of the page so it's easier to see. Okay, so now we have our trigger box. Put your trigger box over the area. And then answer 1 is only going to appear when we hit the trigger box. So this is what we're going to have here. So this is what we want. So let's click here. Now notice, this whole area is your trigger area. Click, answer 1 pops up. So that's what we want. Okay, now let's add a sound to this thing. We want it to make a sound when we do this. So again, we're still going to use text box 1, text box 4. Go to effect options again. Now this time the first thing that popped up is sound. You see this? No sound. So I'm going to go down here. You can use, they have pre-made sounds. I'm going to use other sound. Okay. Under other sound, let me show you where I got this from. Let's go back again. Other sound. Go find your other sound. So your other sound here, I'm going to use the bell. So you can hear the bell. Alright, so now, notice what happens. Let's run this. This thing's going to trigger answer 1 to pop up, and then when answer 1 pops up, it's going to make the bell sound. Perfect. That's what we want. Okay? And then again, you can do that with an, let's just real quick, let's look at something else. I'm going to use word art this time. Let's choose this one. It really doesn't matter. I mean, your creativity is going to be involved here, so it's completely up to you. Let's go off to the side here. Okay, let's put a X. Okay, let's say we have this X here, and we want this to show up when something's wrong. Okay, so this is going to show up when something's wrong. Let's go to animation, appear. Okay, so we made that one appear. Now we have rectangle 6 as an X. We're going to appear. Same thing here. Let's go insert some type of shape. You pick it. I mean, this, we'll just use another rectangle. Let's say we want this whole area here to be the one. Remember, go back to transparency. Make it 100% so you can see through it. I'm going to leave the box around it just so you can see. Okay. Now, let's go tell this thing here to trigger. Effect options. Go back to timing. We want this thing to trigger. Now this time we want it to trigger when rectangle 7. That's the one we just generated. We want it to when we click rectangle 7. So click OK. Let's move this back here. Okay. Now let's run it. Alright, now notice that pops up, and if we want the wrong, click here and it pops up. Again, let's go back out. Let's add a sound to that. Here's our X again. Let's go to effect options, do sound again. We're going to go get another sound, other sound. Let's do the buzzer. Perfect. So when that shows up, click OK. Perfect. Let's see if it works. There's the wrong answer. There's the right answer. Okay. Now something you can also, if you want to format this thing and get rid of, you can get rid of that line on the outside if you want to. See the line here? Let's say you don't want to put no line. So now, notice what happens. It's a blank box. You can't see it, but it's still triggered. See, this area is still triggerable. So I highly recommend that as well. Okay, the last thing I want to look at is let's insert some audio so when it pops up you can have some music. Okay, so let's do this. So insert audio from my PC. Let's do the intro, Family Feud intro. Okay, we're going to insert that. And then notice what pops up. This little speaker. Let's listen to it. Perfect, that's what I want. Okay, now I highly recommend that when you bring it in, do this. You want it to start automatically when the slide pops up. And you want to hide this during the show. Let me show you real quick what happens. If you click this, it's going to show this and it's going to start automatically. But you want to hide that during the show. So go ahead and hide it during the show. Okay, so click that, automatically hide during the show. Now let's look. You've got your intro music. It'll play through, and you can decide how long you want it to be and how long you don't want it to be. So in this case, when I originally made this, I liked hearing the whole song start. And then again, you got your triggers, you got your game, and you can do all kinds of other things. I hope this was helpful for you.